All righty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our November webinar. Session's open. We're going to get going right away because we only have 30 minutes. And we're going to try to stick to a tight timeline. I know everybody has a really busy day. So the session's open to members. It's open to non-members. Anyone who's interested in learning more about the PTC, what we've been doing this year, and what we're going to be up to for 2025. We're really excited that all of you are here. The turnout is amazing. I'm anticipating people joining over the next couple of minutes. You'll see those numbers going up, but yeah, thanks for being here. My name is Cristin. I'm the publisher at Rapid Media, and I'm an associate rep on the board of directors. Rapid Media is really proud to be a media sponsor for the PTC this year. We're really excited to help the PTC grow and see where we can go over the next little bit. Before we get started, I'm going to pass this over to Pam. She has a few housekeeping items. Pam's been like absolutely fantastic. She's the glue at the PTC. She's been, Pam, you've been, honestly, I have to say, the absolute best organizational person I could work with. She's put together all of our slides, and yeah, I'm going to pass this over to her.
So I had a little bit of a technical glitch there, and so forgive me for jumping over a couple slides, but I think they're working now. And thank you, Cristin. As you can see, Cristin is the host for today's webinar. My name's Pam Dillon. I'm happy to be working with you all as well. Before we get started, as she said, here are a few housekeeping items. The webinar is being recorded. It'll be available via a link shared with all who have registered. To safeguard against background noise, all of you are muted right now, and you will be for the duration of the webinar. But please note on your participant controls, you might have to find these. You should see both a chat feature and a Q&A, a question and answer feature. If you have questions during the webinar, please try to utilize the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. It may be at the top of your screen, and we may respond directly to all of you, or we may share the response to everybody verbally or in writing. Also, at the end of the webinar, we've included a live Q&A session if we have time, and we will ask you at that time to raise your hand, and we should be able, if the technology allows us, we should be able to unmute you if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question. At this time, we'd like to invite all of you, though, to say hi by using your chat feature. So find that chat feature, let us know, and each other know who you are and who you represent and where you are located. And it's always fun to see who else is on the call. Here's a brief overview of some of the topics we'll be covering in today's agenda. You'll be hearing from both our PTC Chair, Stig Larsson, and our PTC Executive Director, Jeff Turner. They'll provide you an overview of the PTC Bulkheads of Strength. We're going to share some of our 2024 accomplishments. We'll take a look at how PTC moves forward into 2025, including an upcoming special election for additional board members. As we said, we're going to have some opportunity for questions and chat from the attendees, including the opportunity for you all to provide input on topics for future webinars, and we'll also share our next webinar date. We hope you're already familiar with our PTC leadership. For those who do not know them yet, I'm honored to introduce our PTC Chair, Stig Larsson of Level 6, and PTC's Executive Director, Jeff Turner. And I will first turn it over to you, Stig, so take it away.
Thanks, Pam. First of all, welcome everybody. It's our first webinar, and I think we had over 120, 130 participants sign up, so I'm excited to see that attendees list grow. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We have a lot to present in a very short amount of time, and kind of out of respect for everyone's time, I'd like to jump right into it. So first, we hope everyone knows here that the Powersports Trade Coalition, or the PTC, is a member-driven, not-for-profit 501c6 trade coalition of brands, manufacturers, retailers, outfitters, and sales reps who are the voice and soul of the North American paddle sports industry. And what that basically means is that, everyone here on this call, if you're a member, this organization is equally represented by all of us together. We're all here to try to grow paddle sports in a sustainable and economical way. Before we dig into things, though, out of curiosity, I see lots of new faces and names here on the attendee list. We'd like to do a membership category poll that Cristin's going to put up on the screen. So when Cristin does that, if you wouldn't mind doing a quick little vote of who you are, what you represent, what category, and then we can kind of view those results. Should see that poll now.
Yeah, it's working, Stig.
Okay.
I'll close it once I get to 100%. Okay, a couple more answers coming in. Thank you, guys. Okay, a couple more seconds and then I'm gonna end it. Here we go. Stig, are you able to see the answers or do you want me to read them out?
Yeah, would you mind reading them out for me?
Sure, we've got 18 out of 73 respondents were retailers and outfitters. 29 out of 73 brands, 8 out of 73 sales reps, 11% associates, and 14% are not yet a member or not sure. And if you're not sure, just send us a message in the chat and we'll respond.
Okay, it's awesome. Thanks again, everybody, for joining the webinar. And Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you. Could you please give us a kind of a brief overview of the PTC?
Absolutely. And Cristin, the poll is on top of the slide. There you go. Perfect. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great numbers, and hopefully that reflects some really awesome enthusiasm that you actually see in this photograph on this slide. We had a lot of smiling faces, a lot of really engaged participation and dialogue down in Oklahoma City. And there was really this feeling of a unanimous agreement on what our intentions are for all those who attended that event and many other people who weren't able to make it. We want to sort of build the foundation of this organization on 4 key points. The idea is, first of all, that we've got these bulkheads of strength, voice being the first most important thing. We have an association made up of various constituents. This is not a trade show organization telling us what to do. This is us being involved in this dialogue, in this discussion, and agreeing on what are the key steps forward for our industry. So that's obviously made up of retailers, outfitters, clubs and associations, brands, sales reps, and marketing organizations and so forth who are part of this community. And our goal, and all of our mutual goal, yourselves included, is that this voice becomes one of many, and we build our steps forward to support the entire industry, and that's really our goal. Safety is a critical component of what we're doing. There were some disturbing numbers that came out of the U.S. Coast Guard last year on boating fatalities. And unfortunately, the paddle sports segment, or they refer to it as human-powered boating, was one of the larger segments in terms of the number of people who had an unfortunate experience. I think that's got to be a very important part of what we're trying to get accomplished here with PTC is actively creating and promoting safe boating practices and making sure that we're all together in giving the same message. Community is really important. Obviously, we have a multidiscipline sport: fishing, whitewater, flatwater, rafting, pack rafting, SUP. There's a whole variety of different categories, and we want to make sure that we're addressing that community as a whole, while also dealing with the fact that the motivations for someone to go kayak fishing may be very different from somebody who's standing on a supboard. And so we have a lot of varied interests, but it's all for one human-powered activity, and we want to make sure that that community is built well, and it is focusing also on people of all abilities. So, and then finally, growth. Obviously, that's why we're in this business. This business, or this have formed this association, is that we've come through the ups and downs. We had a roller coaster ride over the last few years, for not just for the paddle sports industry, but for the general outdoor sports industry. And our goal is to have you as our membership involved in the decisions that we try to face and make and step into for the sport and for the activity that is good for us all. We all have our own, many of us, I don't, because I'm now trying to get this going, but we all have our own businesses, or we all have our own perspectives. And I think it's very important that everybody speak up, have a voice, are talking about how do we grow. If any of you as a member, or any of you who are considering becoming members, you need to understand we are going to be listening, and we're going to be trying to build a consensus and a collaborative process forward for the growth of our industry in general. I think that the final statement before I pass it back to Stig is, in my opinion, this works with our collective effort and collective commitment. And that's what we're really honestly trying to build with PTC. Back to you, Stig.
Thanks, Jeff. 2023, 2024 was a pretty big year for, how we got from our starting point in Bentonville to where we are now. We previously reported on and formed the framework of the PTC beginning in early 2023. And with the support of over 24 founding members, we ended up having the kind of momentum to file our articles of incorporation, and we launched our first membership drive last October. And in those past 12 months, it's been insanely busy, from an interim board to the elected board you see now. The current board, has basically been in these seats for the past 11 months. So kind of a brief rundown of that was in January 2024, we held our first election. The PTC membership passed its first bylaws and elected our first board of directors, which right from the get-go was no small task. 2 of those board members had to resign because they changed job roles outside the industry, and they were filled by Cristin, of course, see on the screen, and Phil. And since that time, we've had over 17 official board meetings. 2 of them have been in person, one in Chicago and one in Oklahoma City at the PTC Collab, which all expenses, of course, were paid for by the board members themselves. I just want to make that point there, that this is really an organization that's for the membership base and growing the paddle sports market. In March, we reviewed and adopted the bylaws for the PTC and how it would be governed. Then in our meeting in March, we decided to discuss the viability of an annual membership event, which was basically the infancy of what was to become what we all know as the PTC Collab event. A separate PTC Collab committee was formed, of which I was the chair, and we had 7 meetings to kind of present a viable agenda, location and cost analysis, and present that to the board, all of whom have voted to move forward with this type of event, mainly because we want to be very conscious of our membership base and financial struggles that this summer was giving a lot of people. But we felt this event was going to provide a lot of value to the membership base on what the PTC was going to become. Big key factor that and component in the PTC Collab was the PTC owns the rights to the PTC Collab event. And we made that pretty clear from the get-go, because we wanted to ensure that event would always meet the needs of the membership. And we could curate that event depending on how the membership wanted that event to look. So we can respond to the membership needs not only for today, but also, of course, in the future as the paddle sports environment has changed or will change. From there, we hired Jeff Turner, on the screen you see, as our executive director to help keep the momentum of the PTC alive. And we filed our very first tax return, which was impressive as a Canadian. Officially told the world about the PTC Collab in June and started the preparations for the event which was also was a very ambitious target. Obviously, we went from launching the event to being more than 50% sold out in 6 weeks, which was a great start for us this year. And I think next year we can build upon that even more. From there, we hired Pam Dillon in July, signaling our gradual separation of independents from NASBLA, who were an integral part of helping us get up and running in the beginning. We wouldn't be here today without the support of NASBLA in the beginning, navigating what was required to become a 501c6. From this, we transitioned our finances away from NASBLA to our own QuickBooks Online software, hired a contract bookkeeping company that works for nonprofits to manage the daily and weekly financial transactions, which realistically keeps us all very, very accountable to what we're spending and what we're focusing on. From there, in September, we managed and ran the first annual PTC Collab with incredible lists of speakers, retailers, and brands in attendance. So for a board members of 11 people, plus Jeff and Pam, who had never really done a trade show before, of course, attended trade shows before, done events before, and we wanted to kind of see how we could pull up from all those ideas and create our own PTC Collab event, which was for the membership base of getting us all together, getting people talking and listening to ideas. From that event and the focus groups that were formed, we pulled together a list of hot topics that our industry needs to address. And now here we are with our very first of many webinars to continue bringing us all together to ensure, hopefully, a long and healthy future for paddle sports. That was kind of the brief overview of 2023 to 2024. So with that said, of course, sounds like a ton of work. Well, it was a ton of work. And we definitely wouldn't be here without the board. I quickly want to acknowledge and thank the 2024 board. In addition to myself as chair, obviously, there's a great appreciation for the work and support of our vice chair, Emily Jackson of Jackson Kayak, and our secretary treasurer, Simon Coward of AQ Outdoors Aquabatics, who works very, very closely on ensuring that everything is held accountable for. The additional members that make up the board are Diane, Brian, and Brad, and they make up the retailer outfitter seats on the board. Jason and Phil that make up the remaining brand seats. Rob and Ted that make up the sales rep seats, and then Cristin, whom you already met, is our associate member seat. It should be all clear on the screen there. And that is where we are right now. Jeff, do you want to go back to you?
Sure, absolutely. So just again, a quick summary. We, as of today, we have 136 members. You can see the way they break out now, and I think that there's a solid representation of retailers, brands, and reps, but we have a lot of opportunity for growth. We couldn't really have accomplished all the stuff that Stig just went through with you without the commitment and dedication from each of these members, and we are in the process of moving into our next membership year, and things are going quite well there too. If we look ahead, though, we have set ourselves a goal. It's our goal to be up to 300 members in whatever the assortment might ultimately be. I think there are a lot of retailers yet to join, and I hope we can convince any of you who are on this call who have not joined that there's a good benefit for being part of this as a retailer or an outfitter or an organization. But our goal is to be 300 members by the collab in 25. So that kind of indicates too that there will be another collab in 25. And we'll talk about that in a little bit forward. Again, I keep emphasizing this is a coalition and a collaboration of paddle industry people. We control our own destiny, and we need all our members to help us with that. If we look at the collab, you know, one of the things that, for those of you who were down in Oklahoma City with us, one of the things that was sort of a constant refrain of mine was, this is not a trade show. And I really do mean that. It's a gathering of people and businesses dedicated to the paddle sports industry and passionate about building that industry together. Our growth, you know, we want to come with strategies for our growth forward, and we want to fuel our participants and the consumers who are in the sport together with us. We set the collab date in September, this past September, based on feedback we got from a very well attended membership survey. There was an overwhelming number of people who wanted to have a show in September. I think it was, as a former brand manager, I was always focused, as in the apparel business, I was always focused on getting orders in as early as possible. And what I realized is that our industry has a cycle, and I have to fit into the buying cycle rather than pushing my buying cycle on somebody else. And that's also a real focus for us as PTC is moving forward, is building programs and opportunities to gather that fit with our cycle and allow us to focus on those things together annually. And hopefully we'll have more frequent opportunities to do that as we move forward. We had a very successful event in Oklahoma City. We had 151 attendees. 27 brands participated in the product demo. That will hopefully be a growing part of the segment. We had a lot of fun down there for sure. And I think that one of the things we didn't underestimate, but it was what became very apparent to me certainly, and us as a board, is that this engagement, this opportunity to sit together in rooms, have focused discussions, hear from either in industry people, or we had people from other industries come down and talk about the impacts of an association and so forth. And we had one group of sessions, and Pam, I was going to ask you if you could sort of summarize the key outputs from the constituent meetings that we had. And these actually are, we're looking very, very closely at these as we build our strategic plan forward. Pam, could you take us in through that?
Sure. And the easiest way to do this is just to share what the top summary points based on the input we received directly from these various groups at CoLab. We ask them a question. We ask each group, retailers, outfitters, brands, manufacturers, sales reps, and associates. People could self-identify which group, which meeting they wanted to go into, but we asked them all the same question. And the question was, from your perspective, when thinking about the future of the paddle sports industry, what are your biggest challenges to overcome in having a healthy, viable business 5 to 10 years from now? Please be specific in your response. We went through a facilitated process where everybody wrote down, without talking to each other, they wrote down their own responses to that question. And then within that group, we facilitated an exchange of information where they actually scored and compared 2 cards at once, 2 comments at once, to give them scores. And as a result of that, all of the responses in each session was weighted, was given a score. These are the top 3 results, but we have all of those comments. We have all of those statements that we will be looking at further, but I just wanted to share with you the top responses from each group. I'm going to read these very, very quickly. From retailers and outfitters, their concerns were competing with direct-to-customer sales by large online retail, such as Amazon, the higher cost of doing business, that includes labor, rent, insurance, while margins are going down, and the ability to sell manufactured products without the manufacturer being a competitor. For brands and manufacturers, their top concerns were maintaining interest in and relevance for our sport in the outdoor community and growing avid core participation. How can we attract new prospects into paddle sports, specifically those who are younger and new to the sport? And again, participation, access to consumers, and how to communicate to new demographics. Sales reps were also focused on direct-to-consumer harms. They stated that direct-to-consumer harms specialty retailers, and there's a barrier to new dealer entry due to direct-to-consumer. Not having brands lean heavy on the direct-to-consumer models, and the biggest challenge is not having brands lead heavy on that direct-to-consumer model, because that will negatively affect retailers, which takes away from what we do. Local shops going away will erode our customer base. And the associates, key points were greater connection with the paddle sports, grassroots paddling groups, persuasive, concise educational materials funneled down to paddling groups to share widely and for media coverage, grassroots initiatives that converts casual paddlers to committed paddlers, and information, education, lifestyle, and community. So you can see that there's some common themes that are running among all of the attendees. And the key target is to continue to grow and keep this sport healthy and relevant. So back to you, Jeff.
Great, thank you, Pam, very much. As you can see, this is a very specific demonstration of the things that we're stepping into as an organization. It is going to be very important dialogue for us, and will be difficult and challenging for some, and will be enlightening for others. But we're going to be stepping into all of those issues in the coming months as we move forward. Stig, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, and I think that was, the biggest takeaway that I heard, or I felt actually, as a brand at the PTC Collab, and it really resonated with the people that I spoke to there as well. So with that said, I mean, we have a pretty ambitious goal for year 2 of the PTC. We learned a lot at the PTC Collab from all those attending that, a unified voice for industry is needed. We spoke to other organizations that were present there, giving some talks on how they were formed: SIA, OIA, Grassroots Alliance. And that voice is needed to ensure everyone has a vested interest in paddle sports, and everyone in paddle sports has an equal voice. We got a chance to share this moment together to learn and collaborate and build on our relationships. And like Jeff just said, there was uncomfortable conversations that were had down there. And I think the fact that we can have those conversations with different segments of the industry will allow us to put things on the table and move forward in a productive way together, versus working in our silos and not really accomplishing much, and then looking back 5 years from now wondering what happened, and hopefully not losing the momentum that we actually have right now. So building our relationships has always been the best part of the paddle sports industry. All of us on this call, I see the names on the attendee list. I've known some of you for over 27 years, since I started Level 6, and the relationships and the passion for the industry is what really makes us so special. And I think we can put aside some of our short-term thinking and start looking at long-term thinking and setting some long-term goals. So our focus is to become a strong organization, obviously by creating more collaboration among our membership groups, being able to freely exchange data and collaborate on resources and knowledge to strengthen our retailers and sales reps. Without strong retailers and strong sales reps, there won't be strong brands. It's as simple as that. We have to all work together to make sure that we're focusing on the long-term success of the industry, not the short-term success of your balance sheet today. By collaborating and growing the membership of the PTC, we are ensuring there's a strong value for all of us to collaborate on a wider range of topics and issues. I mean, that really is as simple as the more minds we get together with the more different experiences that we have, is going to allow us to solve these issues faster and get us back on track. So we're all forward-thinking people on this webinar. I mean, I think paddle sports in general, we're forward-thinking people. We got into this sport or this industry, not necessarily for the financial gains, but for the love of being outdoors on the water and all those things it provides. So I know that's how the majority of people here think. We have to make sure we think that way together. So with that said, moving forward, which we did announce at the PTC Collab, that our bylaws did allow for our board of directors to grow from our current 9 members to 15. However, the first election procedure established just an initial board size of 11 members, which I listed up previously. But we have 4 additional seats that we announced to be filled as the coalition grows. and we're currently at that point. Pam had sent out an email, I think 3-4 weeks ago, looking for nominations to email paddlesportstradecoalition.org. If you have interest, or you know someone has interest, please encourage them to send in a nomination, or a request for some more information. We have developed a board development committee, which I'm a chair of as well, with a couple non-board members as well, to kind of really see what the membership needs. So during the annual meeting held at the PTC Collab, the membership did vote unanimously to hold a special election for these 4 additional board seats to be filled by 2 additional retailers and 2 brand members. Per the PTC bylaws, our board development committee is now accepting nominations, which was announced in the news blast I just mentioned. So if you're interested, obviously there's 92 people on this call that are attendees. All those who are board of directors obviously can't self-nominate again, but we're looking for nominations. I reached out to a few people already, and I would say that we have some very, very strong candidates to help grow this board. Nominations are going to close on November 22nd. And then the board development committee will vet all those interested, and the election to take place in early December, with the results can be announced ASAP. So additional information on the board service can be provided by us if you just send an email to us, or email me directly if you want. I can give you exactly what being a board member looks like, the number of meetings, the number of time commitments, the incredible people you get to work with, and of course you get to help guide the industry that we definitely love. Jeff, back to you.
Thank you. It looks like we're running over. Cristin sent a note out to y'all. Please hang in if you can. Our goal, honestly, was to be through the presentation in 20 minutes, but we're already 30, and so I am sorry for that. We've got a few more slides to run through. I wanted to give you a highlight of the key initiatives that we're building in our strategic plan. And I think that one of the, obviously the goal is to really fuel, PTC is going to be fueling dialogue and action in the next little while. So the first initiative that we're going to be getting into is building our industry communities. This will be something where you're going to start to see very soon opportunities to join a committee, to join in some discussion and dialogue. And the topics will include things like safe boating, education, and business education, not education from a teaching paddlers, but education on how we all can do business and where we can learn from each other. There'll be consumer engagement. We had a number of clubs, paddling clubs, come down to Oklahoma City who were so stoked that we were doing this for the industry. And so we see them as a key component of consumer engagement. Obviously, retailers, an incredible component of consumer engagement. That's where it all happens. So, consumer engagement will grow with clubs, participation, demos, and so forth as we go forward. Advocacy for access, advocacy for inclusion. There'll be a committee focused on that and the DEIA initiatives and so forth. And we also have a series of board committees that we're going to be building. There will be an opportunity for all the reps to get together in a room of their own community, all of the brands to get together in a room with a like association. So we'll have constituent committees, excuse me. Obviously, retailers and associates will be able to have their own committee as well. We're going to have, I hope we're going to have a solid legislation committee. We've got to focus on national, regional issues across the US and Canada, and we need a committee to help steer us through those programs. And then there are a series of other technology committees, transportation and logistics committees. Those will all start to happen in the next months as we move forward and through into 2025. Again, the key thing, it's critical to our future for volunteer support. We need you as members, as people who are interested in this category of sport, to be with us and support us and grow us, because there's truly only 2 of us who are employed, and then we've got a board of directors, and we need more volunteers to be involved in these committee discussions. Moving into some of our legislative issues, we want engagement with lawmakers across the U.S. and Canada. Thanks to the generous donation from Eddie Line Kayak and Scott Hawley, we were able to join the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable this year. And I've gotten to know Jess Turner very well. She's the executive director of ORR. This is a Washington-based association of many people across the country, but their focus is in federal perspective in the United States. And we're moving forward and supporting a piece of legislation that will hopefully continue through. Jess assured me, regardless of what the outcome of the election was, that this had very good congressional support. The Explore Act will be moving forward. And Explore is all about trying to make access to the outdoors much easier, much more accessible for a broad population on a regional basis as well as on a national basis. And one of the very specific access points is water sports and water access. So we'll be having a voice in that as that Explore Act gets through, and helping OR to build, Outdoor Recreation Roundtable to build their advocacy. In these things, again, we are a North American association, so despite the fact that that is a specific US focus, there are going to be programs developed in Canada as well as we move forward. We want enhanced engagement with membership. Always focused on membership engagement. That's what we are here for. Pam and I and the board will be very focused. If you have questions, if you have any reason that you want to talk with us, there's an info you've all got my email address. If you don't, we'll send it to you. But we want to be very accessible for our members and be engaged in what your needs are. We're going to be starting a series of quarterly. This is the first of quarterly webinars. In December, we will kick off a topic in boating safety. In January, we want to talk about technology and how technology can support retailer and brand buying efficiencies. We will have our quarterly membership meetings. And then we'll get into some of the other topics later in the spring, like consumer engagement. And the involvement of other associations and other people with like interests, like the American Canoe Association, American Whitewater, Water Sports Foundation, U.S. Coast Guard, and so on and so forth. We're engaged with all of those associations, and we're actually quite deep into seeing how our collaboration with other groups will help to support what we're doing on a regional basis and get things going. And if we keep rolling forward, the final is the PTC Collab 25, and I'm very excited to say that we have locked the dates. We will be back in Oklahoma City, September 8th through 10th. It's the second week of September. We had some feedback that they didn't want it to be, people were a little uncomfortable being so close to the Labor Day. And we're going to be, thanks to the folks at River Sports OKC, who was our host venue, and the Visit OKC, which is our host tourist board. We couldn't have done it without them this past year, and they're very keenly involved in next year. So please mark in your calendars, September 8th through 10th at River Sport OKC in Oklahoma City. And we'll be announcing our agenda and the actual dates early in the first quarter, so that you'll get to see what we're planning to do there. And we learned a lot from what we did accomplish this past September, and it'll be reflected in the agenda going forward for next year. Stig, back to you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
As you can see, obviously, there's a ton more we can talk about. And to that end, please mark your calendars. Our next PTC webinar will take place on Wednesday, December 11th at the same time. We'll push out the details, including the topics that will be discussed. That'll be announced soon. You'll probably see an email from Cristin showing what's going on with the link to join. Obviously, we've gone way over time. Well, 10 minutes over time, fashionably late. We want to be mindful of that time, but I know there's lots of people who have questions or comments. So as a reminder, please drop your questions in the chat or the Q&A feature to raise your hand. And if possible, Cristin's assistant will be able to unmute you if you want to speak. Any kind of questions or comments, you can please put them in there. And Cristin, can you address them as they come up?
Yeah, sure. Let me just check first if anyone has their hand up. There's a little button down at the bottom that says raise hand if you'd like to speak. There is one question from Steffi at MKC. It's more of a statement of, I think it could be valuable to distinguish between outfitters and retailers. So maybe Jeff or Stig, you guys could speak to why they're grouped together or any thinking there.
Yeah, it was, I guess it was not intended, it was maybe for efficiency and for the way we put it out. We look at retailers and outfitters as very distinct organizations for sure. And I think that we put them there because obviously retailers and outfitters engage directly with consumers more so than any brand does or a rep does, for instance. It's an interesting thing, and we'll talk about it in a board. And but we see them as very distinct organizations and with their own issues and so forth. We have been communicating pretty deeply with the AO, with the Outfitter Association, OA, excuse me, and we're involved with them as well. But yeah, two distinct groups. For sure.
Perfect. I have one from Zach too. Will you have a PTC board member attending AO in December?
It would be our hope. Yes, I think we probably will. I know that Phil's involved in that, but we haven't talked about that specifically. But yes, there will be a PTC representative there, I'm sure.
Perfect. And then a comment from Ted Keys from the board. Members, make sure you register to make connections here at the PTC members link. I'll maybe just copy and paste that one into the chat. Those are all the typed out questions. I don't see anybody with their hand up. Anything else, anyone?
Well, I mean, there's nothing else, definitely email info. And we can certainly respond to them if you come up with questions after this webinar.
All right.
Okay, is that everything then, Cristin?
Perfect. Yeah, we'll post this to the PTC website as soon as it ends. Essentially, I'll take the recording and then post the video there. Pam, I'll also grab your slide that you were showing with the answers from the collab, and we'll put those online as well. Yeah, if you're not a member yet, please join. Stig, Jeff, Pam, myself, anyone on the board is very happy to answer any questions you guys have. If there's reasons, if you're not a member or you're thinking of renewing or have questions about that or any feedback, we're very open to it. We're volunteer driven, so we just want to improve and get better. Stig, do you have other things to go through?
No, I think that's great. I mean, thanks everyone for obviously attending. It was a great first webinar. Certainly flattered by the attendance, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
I'll be
you all.
sending out some email invites as well. We're just gearing into our social media, but if you guys can follow us, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We will be doing more regular posts throughout the winter as we have our strategic plan and more updates coming from the board. We would love help with that as well on any committees. Yeah, and then the special election, Pam will be putting together the whole voting process, and you'll get a lot of communication about that in the coming weeks.
Well, thank you all.
Great.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
thank you, everybody.
So happy to see that the number of people here. It's just
Yes.
great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.